Thank you, Pankaj, for that kind introduction. And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of you from the HR fraternity, a lot of you from business. My aim over the next 15 minutes is to give you some thoughts on how I see this concept of reimagining HR. Okay, so let me start. The first thing is, the concept of human resources as a department, human resources, seems a very archaic and old title in a world that's changing very quickly. Okay, so should it be human resources, or in an outcome-led world, should it be human potential? I don't know. I'm going to raise some questions for you and make you, think about it yourself. Is it human resource or human potential that we're discussing when we're talking about a very critical aspect of our business, which is people? Okay, so I would say human resource is a very old, archaic way of looking at it. That's like saying the IT department should be computer resource department, something like that. So to me, that's an old world way of saying it. Some companies, of course, have changed. They've gone to things like people officer, chief people officer, chief this, chief that, chief fun officer. I see lots of, variations of this concept of fun and people, which are there, new nomenclature for HR departments. So you can take your pick. The point to me is that in a digital world, there's absolutely no boundary between what you're measuring internally and externally. In the old days, what you measured internally was only known to the HR department, maybe the management team, and then you shared it as and when you wanted with the right people. Okay, in today's digital world, people trust Glassdoor more than they trust any survey of yours. Okay, in fact, they might not be bothered about your survey. Okay, here's a peculiar part. When you do an internal survey, if you get 5% response, you're very happy. And that 5% response happens after the CHRO has sent a reminder, CEO has sent a reminder, planning manager has sent a reminder, some 10 reminders, please fill, please fill, please fill. Glassdoor, nobody is asking them. They are voluntarily giving it. So people today don't trust the hiring manager, don't trust HR, don't trust the CEO. They trust Glassdoor. Every employee who's joined my company, I ask him, how did you make up your mind? He said, I went to Glassdoor, looked at the whole thing. I said, okay, it's the right company to join. Okay, so your internal service, whatever you're doing, you really have to ask yourself, what's the boundary line between, what people trust outside and inside. Next, irrespective of the age, irrespective of the situation we are in, machines will come and go, businesses will outsource, businesses will do whatever you want. But fundamentally, in any organization, engagement and culture will always be important. Whether you have 10 people and 20 machines, or 1,000 people and 10 machines, doesn't matter. Whether you have a wholly outsourced department or an in-house department, doesn't matter. But I think engagement and culture have to be absolutely rooted as HR priorities. Okay, whatever you want to label HR as. You can get rid of everything else, but engagement will be very critical. I just read the Brunswick study two nights ago. They say that 85% of people globally are disengaged. 85% of people globally are disengaged. So, very clearly, engagement and management of culture are critical aspects of a company, not just for the HR department or the people department. Okay, so what do people view in a job? This is the latest Brunswick study. Okay, so if you look at it, they've talked to about 42,900 people across the world. They have split it as developing countries and developed countries. If you look at developing countries, which is the last column, work-life balance is number 1 at 61. Enjoying the job is number 2 at 53, and number 3 is long-term job stability. These are the 3 big drivers of what people want in a job. If you look at the developed countries, work-life balance is number 1. Number 2 is a fight between amount you get paid and enjoying the job. Both are roughly equal. This is a study in the latest Brunswick report. The good news is that nobody wants to be CEO. When people ask them, do you want to be the top boss? No, we don't want to be. Because, and I can imagine why. Because when they talk of work-life balance, when they talk of this, etc., they say, look, it's too painful. In the last many years, we have a program called the Shadow Program, where bright young people who are high potential in our company shadow me. At the end of the first day or the second day, it's a 7-day shadow stint. At the end of the first day or the second day, invariably I ask them in the evening, how are things? One comment I get from 95% of them, I don't want to do this job. Because when they see how much you need to prepare, how much you need to be on time, that you have absolutely no breathing time between meetings, they just don't want it. Okay? So the good news is that CEOs can be happy. Nobody wants their job. Okay? So what should we recruit in HR? Should we call them engagement evangelists or culture champions? Okay? Going back to my philosophy of engagement and culture being, engagement and this thing being most important for a company. Okay, so in my sense, should we call HR a happiness renewal game? Because there's no end to happiness, right? Everybody wants happiness. So if you look at a few countries, they've started measuring gross happiness index as opposed to gross domestic product. So is the happiness in an organization a good measure to think about? I don't know. I'm just throwing it up for you because you asked me to reimagine HR. So that's the reason I'm throwing that concept out for you right now. But whatever said and done, I have 6 thoughts for you to think about, okay, in terms of reimagining HR, okay, and what I see in the future. Number 1, both employee and employer are free agents today. Don't ever forget it. Okay, we have come to a situation where there's equilibrium between employer and employee. Okay, so employee is a free agent. He says, I'm a volunteer. I'll come and give a bit of my time to you. Fantastic. Today, we cannot say, does the employee fit in? We have to ask ourselves, do we fit into the employee's life? That's the fundamental shift which has happened. You no longer can say, is he a good fit in our company? Those days are over. Okay, those days are 5 years ago. In the future world, you have to ask yourself, do what I do and what I promise, is this part of this individual's life? Am I making some difference to him? Am I able to attract him based on my promise? If you're not able to do that, he won't stay with you. Okay? So both are free agents. The employee comes and says, I've given you my time, but I don't promise you 10 years. Equally, the company is saying, I give you a job, I give you engagement, I give you work, I give you a salary, fine, but I can't give you a permanent job. So both are free agents right now. The employee is a free agent, the employer is also a free agent. So it's in equilibrium right now. So don't fool yourself into thinking that you're in any different shape. If you realize that you're a free agent as an employer and as an employee, you'll treat both differently. Okay? There's no permanency in this relationship anymore. That's what our people are telling us. Second, when industries grow, and especially fast-growing sectors, etc., okay, I see a lot of fake CVs in the market. Be careful of that. So these free agents, there's a lot of fake CVs. I was never on social media. I just got onto social media, LinkedIn, and I was just looking at a few things. And somebody says, his name, Lablich, etc., IIM Ahmedabad. I said, this guy didn't go to IIM Ahmedabad. And then I scrolled down, he's done a 2-week course in IIM Ahmedabad. Okay, beware of all these CVs. There are too many such CVs floating around. So I believe the time has come for employers to group together to say, is there, like you have a credit card mechanism, is he credit worthy? You need to ask yourself, if you want to reimagine HR and not have faulty appointments, is there an employee worthiness that you can think of? It might be a strange concept today. Okay, it might not apply to India, but it can definitely apply to industries. Think about it that way. So the telecom industry can say, hey, we have an employee worthiness. Okay, the durable industry can say that. Okay, so this is something which is possible if you want to avoid fake CVs. Okay. Next, I believe, and I already see it, blue-collar attrition will be a challenge. We've always thought about white-collar attrition. White-collar attrition will be 15 to 20%. Blue-collar attrition is already trending between 3 and 5% right now, and it will continue. Why will it continue? We have a number of zones, industrial parks, etc. So people are hopping in between those. Whenever there's an industrial park, people are happy to go between the companies, number 1. Number 2, you train them here. A number of people are happy to go to Dubai. They're happy to go to Vietnam. They're happy to go to Thailand. Okay, these are blue-collar workers who are saying, I can earn a little more money by going to a neighboring country. So both forces will come together to push your blue-collar attrition to something between 0 to 5% at least in my book. So start worrying about blue-collar attrition. It's just not white-collar attrition. Next, a lot of work processes, promotions are more horizontal and less vertical today. Thanks to the matrix organization, thanks to specialization, etc. A lot of time, people don't understand that you need to spend more time when you're in a horizontal world. It's just not vertical, every 2 years you go up, etc. So people have to develop a lot more depth and spend a lot more time. That is not something that Indians are used to. They're always used to, can I get the next promotion? Can I jump somewhere here, etc. Vertical promotions and vertical way of working is no longer true. Okay? In most organizations which have gone the matrix route, it's much more horizontal. That capability is something that HR has to reimagine for the future. Number 4, what is HR's idea of an open culture? How open can HR be? Like, for example, let me give you this thing. The company I worked in, Nokia, in Finland, you have if you're a citizen, you have access to everybody's salary from the government site. So ask yourself, can all salaries be open in your company? Can all promotions be open in your company? What is openness? Openness should come to a degree when it, shocks you, when you worry about it. Till you haven't come to that, you're in a very comfortable state. Okay? So how much open can we be as an organization is a question that, the CEO, the CHRO have to ask themselves. Push the limits is my point, because more and more people expect far more openness and much less opacity in today's world. They want far more openness. Okay? Number 5, okay, what we will see is full-time employment, part-time employees, outsourced, partner employees, robos. That's the future. So we're going to have different types of people who are going to work for us. This is not going to be the past where you had everybody working for you. If I go back to the 80s, the HR department ran everything. Like what? Travel, admin, canteen, all kinds of things they ran. Today, they don't run any of that. It's all outsourced. Okay. Similarly, I believe you'll have an enormous combination. Companies will only stick to their strategy and what is their capability. So all the people there will only be that. Everything else will be outsourced. You'll have lots of robots in your system. Today, the price of a robo is less than 15 lakhs of rupees. So you can automate all your factories. Okay? A robo is just as efficient, if not more, than what you have today. So you will see a very different workforce. The concept of workforce itself will be different, what you're going to call this. So this is something that you will have to reimagine for the future. And finally, I think every company will have to transform. A company which does not transform will die. Transform to live another day, like James Bond said, or stay as is and die, yesterday. That's what I believe will truly happen in tomorrow's world. So in summary, I would say, I think we have to reimagine HR. Reimagining HR, whatever you want to call it, happiness renewal, you want to call it culture, you want to call it engagement, whatever you want to call it. I think it's time to do that. It's time to do that because the world is changing very, very quickly. And it's time to do that because we have to save organizations. Okay? If we continue doing what we are doing, whether it's the department or the manager or the company will be irrelevant. Okay? So that's all I have to say. I've just finished in about 13 minutes, Pankaj. Absolutely. Thank you very much. And now we're happy to have an open chat.
Thank you so much.